All right, so let's move on to the arm. What I want to show initially is how good of a job dual quaternion did with this. Now I did do some of the same work that I did with the fingers so that I get a more flush or tighter weighting here. But over here, the one thing I do have to be very careful about is how much penetration is happening. So if I go inside, there's just a little bit of penetration. Um, I have done enough smoothing here that I think that should conclude how much of this is resolved with weight painting. For this elbow bend, there's some additional things that have to be done. I have to make sure the pointy protrusion that occurs when you're, I think, what is it called? An olecranon on whatever the elbow joints are, they end up being pointy. So a lot of corrective deformation has to be done there, along with some corrective deformation on the bicep and potentially the tricep. So whilst doing that, one of the things I could potentially resolve is just this minor penetration that's left. But if you look at, if I go to the weight painting, you'll see that I've done a fair amount of smoothing and on the two parts that have influence in this region, which is elbow 1 and shoulder part 2. Right, so it's just basically coming in here and running a smooth. Let's see if there's any left. Yeah, something like this could just use a little bit more smoothing, and that should be enough. So that's going to be it for this armband. That's all I had to do, just smoothing in this internal part here, and reassigning some of the vertices to this shoulder part. Now the next thing of the arm that has to be resolved is this bend control. If I select this bend control and I move it, see, it looks really bad. Go into the weight paint tool. If I'm to select this, it would be this right there. I can start by doing a flood. In order to fix this, I'm going to have to go in and just do some painting with smooth, specifically in these areas. So I'm going to, now that I think about it, I probably should have added one more bend joint, but maybe this is fine. But I feel like I could have added one more. I could have had 3 instead of 2. It would have been helpful here. I'll consider that for the next rigs I create, to have 3. Yeah, I definitely could have used another joint here. At the peak, especially. Could have been good if it was 1, 2, 3 instead of 2. But I'll have to settle for this. Ultimately, this is for things like smearing. There is no particular anatomically correct result you're trying to achieve. You just want to make sure you have nice, clean interpolation. And the more I extend the smoothing or the bleeding of influence from the surrounding joints, the better of a interpolation I'll receive. So this is one of those things where you have to let the smoothing extend as far as possible, especially of these end joints here. It should be influencing more of the central point, so we get a nice C shape. All right, so this is better than what we started with. And the thing about this too is there's a setting in here, I think a bend setting, that you can play with. Yeah, I have to find that parameter. There's a parameter somewhere here. Okay, I think it is parametric. it changes the type of interpolation you get with this bend. So I'm going to do the same thing up here, and so that we can move on to the next part. And another thing, I think there's also a set of microcontrollers. Let me see if I can activate them. Yeah, right there. So these give you a little bit more bending, right? So you can really fine tune the bend result. So maybe I don't necessarily need that. Yeah, that's a lot of control. Advanced skeleton is incredible. That's a lot of control. So it looks like the 2 will be fine. If I was to do this and I don't like how the bend is working and I add these microcontrollers, I can just continue finessing it until I get a nice C curve. So some really good results. Yeah, that's incredible. So I suppose that the 2 is not that bad as long as these micro curves are there. Yeah, very, very cool advanced skeleton. So I'm going to go to build pose, and let's move on to this troublesome underarm.